Hi, my name is Amira. Today I'm going to be teaching you about the Hardy Weinberg Equilibrium. The equilibrium combines the principles of Gregor Mendel and Charles Darwin. Mendel studied genes within a pea plant population. Darwin studied natural selection and the changes in evolution. If given the right circumstances, the genetics that Mendel studied could work at the scale of a whole population and would cause evolution. There are two types of genes, dominant and recessive. Dominant genes are represented by capital letters and recessive are shown by lowercase. In this example, the dominant gene will be the trait of having brown eyes and the recessive gene will be blue eyes. Dominant will be big B, and recessive will be little b. Let's say a child's father has the genes of big B, and their mother has the traits of big B, little b. The Punnett square shows all the possible outcomes for what their eye color would be. A dominant trait always overshines a recessive trait, therefore the child would have a 100% chance of having brown eyes. An allele frequency is how often certain alleles show up within a population. Evolution is caused by changes in these frequencies. There are 5 factors that change these frequencies. One of them is natural selection. Natural selection strengthens the species and reduces the death rate. In this example, humans have small arms and legs and are unable to reach their main food source. They must change in order to adapt to the environment and be able to get food. Many years later, in order for humans to get their food, they would have developed longer limbs in order to gain access to food and survive. Another factor is sexual selection. This is non-random mating that allows the more successful maters to make up more of the gene pool. In this example, there is a normal-looking male, a normal-looking female, and a somewhat ugly-looking female. Based on sexual selection, the male would reproduce with a more attractive female. The next factor is mutation. This is the reproduction of new alleles of the mutation that can be passed and spread throughout the whole gene pool. If one mutation shows up in a gene pool, it can spread everywhere. In this example, the normal humans have large curly hair. The mutation causes the humans to have large spikes growing out of their head. Every 10 years, this mutation would spread and eventually the whole population would have it. The next factor is genetic drift. This is when a random event changes a population. In this example, humans are skinny and almost weightless. Therefore, a tornado can easily blow them away. In order for the humans to not be blown away, they evolve into having a heavier body weight. The last factor is genetic flow. This is when a species with different genes spreads their alleles into a different population. In this example, the species in South America emigrates and then immigrates into Africa. It reproduces with the African species and creates a species that combines the traits of the two. The equilibrium describes a non-involving state of the population. For it to work, none of the 5 factors can be at play. There has to be a large population size so that mutation does not occur. And with this, allele frequencies will remain constant. P represents dominant genes and Q represents recessive. P plus Q happens twice with us because we get recessive and dominant genes from both our mother and our father. Since P plus Q happens twice, we must square it and then we get the Hardy Weinberg equation. This is a population with 10 people. Purple represents dominant genes and pink represents the recessive genes. Homozygous genes are when genes are either both dominant or recessive. Heterozygous is when one gene is dominant and the other is recessive. In this gene pool, 12 out of the 20 alleles are dominant and 8 out of the 20 are recessive. This means 60% is dominant and 40% is recessive. In the Hardy Weinberg equation, P squared would be the homozygous dominant, 2pq is the heterozygous, and Q squared is the homozygous recessive. If we plug in 0.6 for P, 0.4 for Q in the equation, we will be able to find out what percent of the population has heterozygous genes. 0.6 squared is 0.36, and 0.4 squared is 0.16. 48% of the population is heterozygous. Add all of the percents together to see if they equal 1. If they do not equal 1, then evolution has occurred within one of the 5 factors that change allele frequencies. This principle is important because it predicts genotype and allele frequencies in populations that do not evolve. It allows us to compare the genetic structure of a species over time to see if the species never evolves. It can also test to see whether or not a species is evolving and how it is evolving.